Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. So I accidentally did a thing. I ordered 3 planners, as you can see, even though I already have my 2021 planners. I did a blog post where I showed what my setup was going to be. I will link that down below. And while I would say I've got planner piece with Hobonichi, I can't resist the lure of a new planner, and I'd been hearing about Nolty planners everywhere for ages. So whilst shopping on Amazon Japan, I accidentally ordered these 3. I'm saying accidentally because I didn't actually intend to order all 3. It was going to definitely be this one and then one of these 2, and I was clicking through to see what the total would be for all 3, but it never actually gave me the total. It just ordered them. And so I just kind of took it as fate that I should try all 3 of them, and so just left it with me. At this point I should point out that Amazon Japan is actually really easy to use. I've used it quite a few times. I'm always impressed with how relatively straightforward it is to use. Obviously some of the things don't translate very well in terms of how sellers call their products on the website and things like that, but in terms of setting up an account, ordering, and then shipping is ridiculously quick. I ordered these in November and they came in within about 5 days, which is just insane. It's probably the same length of time for me to order from Japan as it is from normal Amazon in the UK because I don't have Prime, which is just nuts when you think about it. Anyway, back to the order, and these are the 3 that I ended up with. I also did purchase some washi tape, some William Morris MT washi tape that I had been eyeing up for a while, and it was substantially cheaper on Amazon Japan compared to everywhere else, something like 500 yen, which is super cheap. So yeah, I added it into the order. One thing that I will say about Amazon Japan is normally everything is excellently packed. It's normally comes in a box and then it's kind of everything is like vacuumed around it, so there's like plastic that holds everything in place. That didn't happen with this order, so the packaging was ripped. Thankfully the planners themselves ended up fine, but they could very easily have been ruined. I just kind of had like a few little bends there, so yeah, bit of a watch out there. Normally completely perfect, never any issues, so I'm not quite sure what happened there. Anyway, so Nolty have what feels like 10 million different planners, to be honest. I did actually have to find a blog post to kind of explain all the different sizes and shapes and layouts. If I find that blog post again, I will link it down below because it was really helpful. And the Amazon Japan website, well, it's an Amazon issue. Their websites aren't exactly the best to shop on. You kind of need to know what you're after. So I had to refer to that blog post to kind of have a vague idea of which layouts that I wanted. Not everything was available on Amazon Japan, so certain colourways I couldn't get, so red wouldn't have been my first choice for this. But as I'm kind of just testing out the layouts, I wasn't too precious, and also these are removable, but I'll come to that later. So yeah, highly recommend doing a bit of research and seeing which ones you want before you go and place the order, because Amazon Japan won't help you. You will just kind of be scrolling through endlessly and then having to click in and look at layouts and things. So yeah, I ended up with these 3. Obviously A5 size, and then 2 what I'm assuming is an A5 slim. So yeah, it's the same height as A5 but just a little bit thinner, so I guess semi comparison to Hobonichi Cousin and the week size. Let's put these ones aside and start with the A5. So this is the 6322. From my research, I think, I could be completely wrong, but I think the first 2 numbers are like the range, and then the colour dictates the other 2 numbers. So I think there might be like a 6321, which is the same layout but just a different colour, I think. But again, I will drop the post that I used to do my research, because yeah, it is a bit boggling. They have so many different layouts, which does mean you can probably find something that kind of suits your needs, but it does just make it a bit more difficult trying to purchase one, I would say. So the first thing I will say on it is it's obviously not my usual style in terms of when you compare to a Hobonichi Cousin. It's like a PU leather cover, and then the year is embossed. Not my typical style, not the prettiest, however the cover is completely removable. so you don't have to worry about kind of keeping it on that. And I guess because it's an A5 size, you can just put any cover you want on it. It'd be relatively straightforward. In fact, if anything, it's really plain. So yeah, I would be tempted to get rid of this cover. However, saying that, I do like the pockets. You get 3 business card pockets, and then obviously the slip for the cover itself. And then you obviously have the back cover there and a pen loop. I love having a pen loop in a cover. I don't tend to take my planners anywhere particularly, like on the go, particularly if it's this size, but I do just like to be able to keep a pen with my planner. So yeah, pros and cons to the covers. They all kind of have this kind of look, or just with different textures, and then just have different colours, but it's more of a classic looking planner rather than a kind of fashion forward planner. So yeah, so that's just something to point out if that's not your kind of style. But yeah, so that's onto all of the cover. And so typical opening pages, very familiar, looks very similar to the layout of the Hobonichi Cousin, just simple yearly overview pages, and then what I call my index pages. Again, very similar to the Hobonichi Cousin, except this is a full year on 2, which I quite like. I don't use the pages for yearly planning in my Cousin because I use it as an index, but actually having a whole year like this is really helpful if you do use it for yearly planning, because you can literally see everything at a glance. So when I move into this planner, I probably will just use this as pure planning, just because everything is right there in front of you. Really simple, really clean pages. Obviously, might not be able to see, but these are plain pages. So unlike the Hobonichi, you don't get grid paper. So just something to note if you either prefer grid pages or prefer plain pages. And then on to the monthly pages. Again, similar-ish to the Hobonichi Cousin. The only difference being that there's lines again rather than grid, and then you've got the free space here and then more lines. So as you can see, that it's not kind of straying too much from Hobonichi Cousin, hence probably why I picked this one, because it's a format that I'm familiar with. You start with December and then you get the whole way through. Just seeing how much. Oh, you do get, so yeah, you get 14 months of monthlies, which is really handy. And then you go on to the weeklies. So this is the reason why I bought this planner, for the weekly pages, because I absolutely love this format. You get your days of the week at the top, split into 2, and then everything else is just free grid space. I am going to be using this planner for work because I think this is perfect, because I have very few date specific things. I don't write any of my appointments in here because that's all done through my Outlook calendar. So there'll be like a few tasks that will need to go in here, but everything else is just free notes and bullet journal style. I did write a blog post about how I plan for work. I will drop that link in the comments just so you can see kind of roughly how I structure my days, but I'll basically be doing the same kind of planning, which is bullet journaling, but doing it in here. So I will at least have a little bit of structure, so I can do some kind of daily planning, but the rest of it will just be kind of free notes and things like that. Absolutely love this layout. Can't wait to get cracking with it, really. I could have started using it, but I'm really funny about starting a diary too early. I do like to start my planners on the 1st of Jan, so that is what I will be doing. I will be moving officially into this. So you get just over a year's worth of weeklies, and then you get a load of note pages. So let's see. So you get a decent chunk of note pages. Obviously not as many as the daily pages in Hobonichi Cousin, but for someone who possibly likes the layout of the Hobonichi Cousin but doesn't need the daily pages, this is probably a really good alternative. There is the Hobonichi Day Free, but that doesn't come with weekly pages, and that's always been the reason why I've never purchased it. So this is a really good kind of ticks all the boxes, really. You've got your monthlies, you've got your weeklies, and then you've got lots of spare note pages. This will be used for me for work, so meeting notes will go in here. So what I tend to do is have kind of a double page spread per supplier, and then just keep writing the date of each meeting, so I've got all the notes together. The pages aren't numbered, So what I might do is pre-number them, and then if I've got meetings that I need to kind of refer back to or need to know the notes, I can just mark kind of the page number of the meeting so I can flick to it, or if I'm kind of looking back and referring to some info, I can do that quite easily. So yeah, so that's the bulk of it. And then at the back, as you tend to get with Japanese planners, quite a few reference pages. Obviously don't understand a word of this, but I think they look cool. So yeah, I think they all have these pages at the back just for your details and a few bits of info. So yeah, really happy with this. Really nice little planner. Well, not little, it's A5. It's not super thick. My current, that's really out of focus, not super thick. My current work bullet journal is a Nuna notebook. It's really, really thick. It's probably like twice the thickness of this. So it'll be interesting to see if I can get a whole year in this like I did in my Nuna notebook. In fact, I could probably get over a year in that. So yeah, that's the A5. So let's talk about this one next. So this is what I'm assuming is an A5 slim size. This is the 6509. It's kind of like a smooth grey texture. I actually quite like this. In terms of the style of these planners, this is probably my favourite one. Again, the cover is separate, so you can just take it out. However, I'm not entirely sure how easy it is to find covers for an A5 slim. I haven't really looked. I might look, or I might just kind of use this as is. I don't really mind. You don't get any pockets in the front here. You do get one small one, you can just see there, and then obviously the pen loop, so you still get a pen loop, which is nice. Opening it up, very similar. Yearly overview page, yearly index at a glance, again year on 2 pages, and then monthly. Now the difference with the monthlies here is you get some nice grid pages. So for those wanting maybe a Hobonichi weeks but needing bigger pages, this is probably a really good option, because it's basically the same layout, but obviously the boxes are wider and you get to keep the grid page, which is really good. I much prefer the monthlies in this to this. I don't like the lines and the blank pages as much. So yeah, all the monthlies, and then on to lots of monthlies. Weeklies, so this, again, if you like your weeks but you need a bit more space, this might be perfect. The reason I wanted this one is because it's got very similar layout to the weeks, but it's got grid pages on the right hand side as well as the left hand side. And that's always been my biggest bugbear with the Hobonichi weeks, that the left hand page is plain. I can't write straight, I need the lines. So yeah, the weeks does end up looking quite scruffy to me because of that. So yeah, grid pages on both, and then, not sure how well you can see it, but there is actually the times of the day along the top. So you can use this in a really interesting horizontal timed plan. I'm not sure I've ever seen that in a planner before, so really intrigued to see how that works for me. Whether I'll use the times, I'm not too sure, but a great thing about it is it's quite small, so you don't need to use it if you don't want to. Just like the Hobonichi weeks as well, it's got little, you probably can't see it, but little marks so that you can join the lines up, make it kind of one long day. It's a layout that you can probably adapt to your own needs really, really well. So you get over a year's worth, and then note pages. Again, grid, nice space for a title. You get a decent chunk. I don't think as many as what you do with the A5, but still a good amount just for some extra pages. So depending on how you want to use them, this could be pretty good. And then just a couple of reference pages in the back. So yeah, really good Hobonichi weeks alternative, particularly if, like me, you prefer having grid pages on the left hand side. Last but not least, we have the 6506. So I'm probably going to go quite quickly through this because a lot of it is the same. You can see that they've got a very usual style for these ones, so monthlies are exactly the same. Where this planner differs is the weekly pages. So these are vertical. Again, grid on the page, which is fantastic, and they are timed, so it's basically like a mini cousin. So for those that like the cousin but think it's too big, then this could be perfect. My favourite bit about this planner though is it has the timed section, but it has a lot of space underneath as well. And this is one of the things that I've always found when I've tried to use my cousin in a timed way, is where do you put kind of to-dos that don't have a specific time of day but do have a specific day. You kind of need to box off a certain, because obviously you're not going to have appointments all that length of time, but it does mean that you have to kind of split it off yourself. Whereas with this, you can kind of use this to plan your appointments or whatever, but then you've got really clear space top and bottom for anything else, whether it be meals, to-do lists, habit tracking, anything like that. There's loads of room for it. Plus you still get a sidebar for any weekly to-dos or anything like that. So yeah, I'm really keen to try this out, see how it works. No idea what I'm going to use it for, but I just really wanted to try out a vertical layout that wasn't quite as big as the cousin, because some weeks I feel like the cousin is a little bit too big for me. I don't know if I'll ever permanently move into something this size, but it's quite nice to try. Again, at the back you get note pages. Again, not a huge amount, so I do think this is why probably I'll never fully move away from the cousin, because I do need a lot of those daily pages. And then pretty standard reference pages. So yeah, that was kind of a quick first impressions and flick through of these planners. Really keen to set them up and start working with them. This will definitely be for work. These two, still working on what I'm going to use them for. I'm not going to go into kind of too much detail in terms of like a review of these planners. I kind of want to get using them first, but just to answer a couple of questions that I think probably I would have is the paper. So the paper isn't Tomoe River paper. I do need to do a pen test. When I do my full review of these planners, I will do a pen test page. It's very smooth. It's obviously cream. It's thicker. However, it doesn't really translate into like a super thick planner, which is good. I like the fact that it has thicker pages, particularly with my planner for work, because I do have a tendency to kind of flick through pages quite quickly during meetings, and I'm always scared with the Hobonichi paper that I'm going to rip it, so I'd never use a Hobonichi for work for that reason, so this could be a good alternative. And then the only other thing to mention is, so the spine on this is very different to Hobonichi Cousin in that it doesn't lay flat as easily. I'm hoping with some training this will lay fairly flat. I mean, it's not doing too bad now, but the smaller ones, I'm really worried that these are just not going to lay flat, and that's a bit of a deal breaker for me with planners. I've tried kind of training. There are some methods online to kind of get spines trained, so I can get it laid fairly flat, but it's definitely going to be a bit of a learning curve in comparison to my weeks which lay flat without any problem. So yeah, those are probably my two observations so far with these planners, but I'm really happy I got them. I think in total for these three, the washi tape, shipping and customs, because with Amazon Japan you prepay customs so that you don't need to get any charges before you get the parcel, and no handling fees, it was 70 quid, which I think is actually pretty reasonable. Maybe I've lost touch having spent a lot of money on Hobonichi, but this seemed pretty good for 3 planners. So yeah, pretty happy. If you do have any questions about these planners, please drop them in the comments. If you want kind of a full review, full setup, also let me know. I'll be happy to do those. The work one might be trickier if I'm kind of writing anything that I can't show. It'll just be lots of blurred pages or post-it notes everywhere. But yeah, really happy with these. Hope you found this video useful. If you also want to see like a big comparison, so like this versus the cousin and these versus the weeks, let me know and I'll get that filmed as well and kind of do like paper comparison, thickness, all of that. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a like and please also subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks, bye.